Hello and welcome to lesson 11.1 on angles and angle measure. This is the first lesson in the topic of trigonometry. Trigonometry being the subject of kind of two different things, I would say. Trigonometry, in one sense, is the study of triangles and understanding how different aspects of triangles relate to each other, like the different side lengths or the different angles within a triangle. And the other kind of half of trigonometry is the study of waves. So anything like waves like on the ocean, these things that oscillate up and down are also connected very closely to triangles and trigonometry. So the starting lesson here, the kind of laying the groundwork, is just on angles and angle measure. We want to all make sure that we've got the same kind of vocabulary and the same assumptions in our head about what we're talking about when we're talking about angles. So a lot of these things will be pretty kind of either self-explanatory, you'll already know it, or it'll just be kind of a simple new idea. There's nothing too complicated in here. It's mostly just sort of vocabulary and conventions around angles. So today's goals are to draw angles in what we call standard position and identify coterminal angles. We're also wanting to convert between degrees and radian measures and find arc lengths by using central angles. Okay, so it's kind of two main goals. There's a series of vocabulary here: standard position, initial side, terminal side, coterminal angles, radian, central angle of a circle. Okay, so let's kind of start off at the beginning. We'll tie this kind of first goal to some of these first vocabulary terms. An angle on the coordinate plane is in standard position if the vertex, okay, so the center of that angle, is at the origin, and one ray is on the positive x-axis. Okay, we call that ray the initial side. The initial side of the angle is the ray that is fixed on the x-axis. The terminal side is the ray that rotates about the center. Okay, so we're always starting pointing directly out to the right towards the x-axis positive direction, and then we go counterclockwise from quadrant 1 to quadrant 2, 3, then 4. So we go in the order of the quadrants, counterclockwise to get to our second ray, which is the terminal side. An angle is in standard position is measured by the amount of rotation in degrees from the initial side to the terminal side. Angle measures can be positive or negative. So this one, that's like, I don't know, maybe like 200 degrees, a little past 180. So like, let's call this 200. Well, we can say it's positive 200, or we can say it's negative 160. So you can go in the positive direction, or you can go in the negative direction. Just two different ways to kind of determine a position. So that's kind of being shown here. This is the positive direction. Clockwise is the negative direction. So if the measure of an angle is positive, the terminal side is rotated counterclockwise. The terminal side is going counterclockwise, whereas if the terminal side is going clockwise, rotating in the clockwise direction, we're describing a negative angle. The terminal side of an angle can make more than one complete rotation. So this can rotate all the way around and continue rotating and continue rotating. If rotating counterclockwise, the angle measures increase past 360 degrees. If rotating clockwise, the angle measures decrease past negative 360. Okay, so you can go up, up, up to 360 and past it, or you can go down into the negatives past negative 360. So these, this ray can just kind of keep spinning around and around and around to make larger and larger angles. Now, angles in standard position that have the same terminal side are called coterminal angles. So for example, we've got 140 degrees labeled right here. Well, if we went all the way around another 360, so starting at this point, we continued in a full circle and added 360, we would be up to 500 degrees. So a 500 degree angle and a 140 degree angle would be pointing in the exact same position because they're just different by a full rotation. So we would call those two coterminal angles. Here they're giving the example of 30 and 390 would be coterminal, or 30 and negative 330 would be coterminal, because we can either go up by 360 or we can go down by 360. Either way, we'll end up in the same spot. Okay, so every angle has an infinite number of coterminal angles that are larger than it. They'll just be in multiples of 360 above, and an infinite that are less than in multiples of 360 below. So add or subtract any multiple of 360 to find another coterminal angle. An infinite number of coterminal angles can be found for any angle. Okay, so that's kind of where we're going to start. We're going to look through some examples about how to work with these kind of ideas. And then after we finish those, we'll get into this description here of going between degrees and radians. And we'll talk about what that's about when we get there.